Welcome to When Liberty Remembers, the Republic Emerges. This is not a lesson, not a directive, not a demand. This is a remembering. Here we speak in story, not slogans, in memory, not instruction, in truth without coercion. Nothing you hear requires agreement. Nothing here asks permission. If something in you stirs as you listen, that is persuasion. That is remembrance. Episode 9: The Republic That Sleeps in the Dust. They say that before the cities rose, and before the clerks learned to wield their stamps like scepters, there walked upon the continent a giant of uncommon grace and terrible beauty. The people called him the Republic. Not a nation, not a government, not a system, a being, a presence, a guardian stitched together from the courage of the free and the memory of the oppressed. His steps shook crowns, his breath scattered tyrants. His shadow was so vast that no king dared approach the shores where he dwelled. He was not born, he emerged from the simultaneous refusal of millions to be ruled by anything but their own consent. That was his heartbeat. Consent, consent, consent. The rhythm that kept him alive. The era before forgetting. In the early days, the giant walked freely through the land. Children played in his footprints. Farmers took shade beneath his stride. He spoke sparingly, but when he did, nations trembled. His voice sounded like a bell struck across a frozen valley. Let none rule without the governed. This was the law he carried across his shoulders like a constellation. But giants, as the old stories say, do not fall in battle. They fall in forgetfulness. And so he did. The slow burial. The Republic was not slain. He was covered, inch by inch, in the dust of accumulated procedures. The people did not notice at first. A form here, a license there, a registration expanded, a permission required, an agency added, a department grown, a policy hardened into authority. Each grain of dust was harmless alone. Together, they became a shroud. By the time the people realized their giant no longer walked among them, only the curve of his shoulder and the outline of his hand remained visible beneath the administrative sediment. He did not roar. He did not fight. He only slept. And even in sleep, his breath grew fainter. Consent, consent, consent. Until the word became so thin that even the bureaucrats forgot they once required it. The creatures of procedure. In the vacuum left by the sleeping giant, creatures rose. They were not evil. They were not malicious. They were efficient. They crawled across the giant's slumbering form building. filing towers, labyrinthine departments, regulatory webs, administrative courts, automated checkpoints, and small, quiet machines that turned suspicion into databases. They built these things thinking they were helping him, that they were protecting him, that they were tending the Republic like farmers tend a field. But every structure they built pinned him further into immobility. They did not realize their error. A republic cannot rise, cannot rule himself. And a republic that cannot rule himself is ruled by whoever stands atop him. The whisper beneath the dust. One day, a young woman walking along an automated road felt her lantern flicker strangely. She stopped, listened. The flame leaned toward the earth, and she heard it. A sound like a heartbeat, buried under centuries of quiet compliance. Consent, consent, consent. The lantern flared, and for the first time in generations, someone heard the Republic breathing. She dropped to her knees, pressed her ear to the ground, and whispered, "I hear you." The dust around her shifted. Not much, just enough to prove he was still alive. The awakening begins. Across the continent, others felt the tremor. Citizens who questioned a procedure. Travelers who refused to be presumed suspect. Sheriffs who recognized searches disguised as checks. Clerks who remembered that papers are not people. Families who taught their children that freedom is not a permit, but a posture. Each remembrance was a hand brushing dust from the giant's skin. Each refusal was a spark of heat in his sleeping bones. Each assertion of consent was a drop of blood returning to his arteries. The creatures of procedure felt the shift and trembled. Their power depended on a giant who slept. A republic awake was something they could not regulate. The giant stirs. The dust began to slide. The administrative towers lost their foundations. Registry walls cracked. Forms fluttered like autumn leaves. Automated checkpoints froze mid-sentence. The confluence of memory, courage, and truth became a rumble beneath the land. Across the continent, the voice the world had forgotten rose from the deep. I am the Republic, and I remember. The sound rolled like thunder, not angry, not violent. Awake. Awakened by the only beings with the authority to call him back. The people. And for the first time in centuries, the giant sat up. Dust poured from his shoulders like sand from an overturned hourglass. He lifted a hand, and the creatures of procedure scattered like startled birds. He looked at the lantern bearer, the woman who had heard him first. And in a voice that carried from mountain to ocean, he said, "Walk, I will rise." The Republic is not dead. He is not conquered. He is not broken. He is sleeping under our own paperwork. And every act of remembering, every assertion of natural right, every refusal to be processed before being respected, every citizen who stands instead of submits, removes another handful of dust from the giant's body. When enough of him is uncovered, he will stand. And when he stands, the world will remember what a republic truly is. What you do with what you heard is yours. You owe no response. You owe no performance. You owe no allegiance. Take what resonates, leave what does not. Liberty does not need to be given. It needs to be remembered. And when it is remembered, the Republic emerges.